about the NFL and all these CTE accusations that we've heard from different players, guys we've had on the show. We've had a tremendous amount of ex-players come on this show and say they have a grade 1 of CTE, grade 2, grade 3. There's all different grades. And you think about the NFL and why the NFL has not gone out of their way to try to help these guys. Now, obviously the NFL they have their own therapist, and you can go and talk to a therapist. But CTE is not something that you can help. If you have CTE, you have brain trauma because of concussion and concussion issues, there's no way of fixing it. We were over there at the Super Bowl. We talked to doctors, top doctors that have worked with the NFL, worked with other leagues, WWE, worked with so many different organizations about and talked about concussions and how bad they are. I mean, Sidney Crosby, in a 5-year span, had 5 concussions in the NHL and still playing in the NHL. If you ask Sid how many concussions he's had in a lifetime, it's got to be over 15. You're going to tell me he's not going to have CTE? Wayne Corbett. Has anybody looked at Wayne Corbett over the last couple of years? How bad he looks. This guy is, in his mid-50s. He looks like he's 70 years old. So many brain issues with some of these players. And again, the NFL doesn't want to protect their players. You have guys like DeBrickashaw Ferguson that was 29, 30 years old, missed 1 game in his NFL career and retired at that age. Calvin Johnson retired at 30 years old because of CTE issues. Patrick Willis is another one of the best linebackers. Could have been a Hall of Famer. Didn't play long enough. I don't think he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame. I don't think so. This guy was one of the best linebackers, one of the best defensive linemen in all of the NFL. Played for San Francisco. Retired. There was another San Francisco 49er.
Chris Borland, 1 year. Yep.
1 year. He was one of the best young players in the league. Mm-hmm. Retired after 1 year of playing NFL football.
Ravens had one too. Played 2 years, Zach Orr, and I think he's actually one of their coaches now.
Think about that. And the NFL and Roger Goodell just brushes it under the rug. Now, anybody seen the movie Concussions? Will Smith plays the doctor. I don't remember his name. It's a pretty unique name, so maybe you guys could figure it out. But the doctor was a guy that was
Dr. Bennett Omalu.
Dr. Bennett Omalu, who actually went out there, put his career on the line, investigated CTE, actually named it CTE, and went out there in studying ex-NFL players, guys that have killed themselves, and looked at this situation, this disease, this brain disease, and tried to reach out to the NFL to help them study these brain issues. Aaron Hernandez, who some doctors say that was probably the worst brain they've ever seen when it came to studying a brain. Just think about that. Aaron Hernandez, who everybody thought was vicious, evil, and he probably was. But I've seen the Aaron Hernandez documentaries that said that guy, before he actually played college ball, was actually a nice guy. He was a good man. Obviously, his father was abusive and all that other stuff, and we all know the background of Aaron Hernandez. I'm not saying Aaron Hernandez was a good guy. I'm not saying that. But what we've seen over and over again in documentaries say that he really wasn't a bad dude until he started getting all this brain trauma. And then you look at the NFL and you see these stories. This isn't the first time, and this is not going to be the last time we're gonna hear about a shooting of an ex-player. And this guy wasn't even an ex-NFL player, even though in his little 3-page story or his information that he gave, he said that he played in the NFL. Now, he played high school ball. There is some truth to that. And maybe he did have CTE. And if they do study that he had CTE, well, maybe this story will grow legs. But really, not really, because the NFL had nothing to do with his head trauma problem. Now, but the NFL, when you think about these stories, and Roger Goodell has not been really thorough and really stood high for this situation. He has kind of taken a step back and tried to brush it under the rug and make it seem like, oh, we're going to fix it. We're going to fix some of the rules. We're going to fix the kickoffs and the punt returns. And they think that that's going to fix this concussion problem that they've had for many, many years. Now, you can't change football, and everybody doesn't want to see a flagged football game because the game is an aggressive game. That's what you love about the sport. And a lot of parents are keeping their kids away from football. As a matter of fact, if you look at the numbers, more kids now are playing baseball and basketball than they are playing football. And one of the main reasons why is because of CTE, because of the concussion protocol that they're dealing with right now. The NFL is not protecting these players. It is a big, huge problem. And again, you're going to hear stories like this moving forward, and you're going to hear it from NFL players. NFL players have come out on this show and said that the league is not protecting their players. They're not looking out for their players. Calvin Johnson, and another guy that has been a spokesman for CTE and concussion protocol for the NFL, has come out and said that the NFL over the years have gotten better, but still not moving forward the way players and ex-players want them to protect now the future of youth and NFL football. It is a big problem, guys. And again, you can't change the game because you love it the way it is. We're young guys, or a lot of these young guys that are watching the game, they don't know anything about it. Jabba was an ex-baseball player. He knows a little bit about concussions, but baseball, you're not going to get concussions like you're playing football or hockey where you get slammed into a board that is not moving. Football
Unless
players,
you're a catcher, that's about the only one.
That's true, too, because you're getting run into by guys that are running from third base to home, and they're still doing that.
Or foul balls straight to your mask.
Foul balls, yep. And how about umpires getting concussion problems, too?
Yeah.
But it's a problem to me because the NFL knows, and Goodell knows, there should be more money invested into the research. And there are guys right now that have walked away from the game, and they're trying to obviously get help in those situations. And everybody keeps saying, well, there is help. There is therapy. We've had guys, Bilal Powell, who's come on the show and told us that he's one of those guys that are talking to players and trying to help players out. If they need help, they're leading them to these therapists to help them speak to them and try to figure out how they can get more help. That's not going to help the situation for what has happened to them over the last 10 to 20 years. And there's no way of saying it. There's no drug that can help you. Obviously, they're studying it. They're trying to find ways that they can help it. Drainage. I talked to a couple of doctors where ex-players are trying to drain certain parts of their brain to loosen up some of the blood from those areas. I've seen that Joe Namath is another guy that's been working with concussion protocol, and also Curtis Martin investing money and time into trying to help concussion protocol for their organizations. Joe Namath has created with many different ex-athletes. I forget what it is. You go into this like I don't know what it's called, but you go into this like
it's like a lab, I think, right?
Yeah, but it's not a lab.
It's like a bubble. It's like a bubble.
You know when you go to a tanning salon, you go into one of those like beds. It's like a bed that you go into, and you sit into the bed for hours on end, and you got to do it numerous amount of times, and it helps certain concussion protocol, certain concussion issues that ex-players, but it's very expensive. So they're promoting something that is unaffordable for some of these players. And a lot of these players, when they walk away from the sport, they don't have benefits. They don't have it. The NFL takes it away after a certain amount of time. So now they're sitting there and they're saying, well, how can I get help? Should I go dig deep into my pockets? And everybody's going to say, well, they've made millions and millions of dollars. What are they complaining about? But when you're supporting a family and you're taking care of 3, 4 kids, and your wife obviously is got to get a job, or you got to get a job where it's going to help you get benefits to take care of your family, it starts to worry you. We've had Ovi Mohali on the show. We've talked about concussion protocol and where the NFL should be going in these situations. And he believes that the NFL is not doing enough to help some of these ex-players. I just think that when you hear stories like this, and Roger Goodell is saying, well, there's a lot of great people and gracious people that have gone through these problems and have gone through it and have done the right thing to try to get help. Now you have a crazy man who's never played NFL football walk into an NFL building and shoots up people, innocent people, and he's trying to get to the floor of the NFL because he wants to just absolutely unload an automatic to kill everybody there. And Roger Goodell says we're gonna add security. We're gonna add more cops around the building. Is that gonna really help the situation? This has been going on forever. Players are committing suicide because of these issues. And all you have to do is figure out a way to help these players. If they have CTE, concussion problems, or they have any problems when it comes to walking away from the game, the NFL should have some kind of benefits to these players to help their issues, their knee issues, their head trauma, their back issues. They shouldn't be saying, hey, after 2 or 3 years, after you walk away from the sport, well, you're on your own. You got to go take care of yourself. Go get your own insurance. To me, these guys have put their lives on their line, their families on the line to play a sport where you're putting yourself in harm's way, to entertain millions and millions of people so the NFL can become trillionaires. Just think about it. And we talk about the money that the NFL is making here on every single sponsor and advertiser they have in the game. You talk about Doritos. Doritos spent $5.5 million off of every single commercial that was played at the Super Bowl. Think about that. It was 4 times. They spent over $22 million for 4 commercials for the NFL to make a buck during the Super Bowl. Now, just think about this. If you took all the money 1 year from the Super Bowl and invested into helping ex-players get benefits for the next, 5 to 6 years, don't you think it's worth it? Don't you think it's worth it? They're making billions and billions of dollars off of 80,000 people showing up to football games to watch a crappy football team play. Think about that. Think about stadiums. Looking at the Jets. The Jets pack out stadium after stadium after stadium, and year after year, you watch garbage football. And then you look at you see these stories. And again, going back to tomorrow and what he did, going up to the 31st floor. And I'll say this. I don't know if you know Tommy Poops over here. His brother is a New York City cop. His partner was at the building after the fact, after the shooting happened. She was there when they were wrapping up the bodies and taking the bodies to the morgue. Think about that. Seeing something so terrible like that and seeing a guy walk through the building and just unload with an automatic gun, killing an innocent cop and going to the wrong floor. Thank God he went to the wrong floor. And then you hear that the maid there, if she turned right, she would have walked right into the gunman. And then how about the person on the elevator that saw him off the elevator? She survived. So much to be grateful about. And this guy goes out, kills people, and then kills himself, shoots himself in the chest. Doesn't shoot himself in the head because he wants them to study his brain. Now, if he has CTE, maybe, and maybe that's where his mental issues are coming from. They state that supposedly his family says he had a ton of mental issues. When you have CTE, you're going to have mental issues. Think about all these ex-football players, ex-hockey players. Now, there are hockey players we've had on this show that have talked about some of the CTE problems a lot of these players have had. How about the goons? All these goon players that have gone out, they're picked. These guys were great players, and they're used to go out there to fight, to attract the crowd, and get the fans to be into the hockey games.
We've had at least 3 or 4 of those guys.
Yeah, on this show, telling us that they were great hockey players, and they couldn't play in the NHL unless they became a goon. Because they didn't need a superstar player. They had enough great players on a team. Either you're going to learn how to fight, or you're going to go down to the minors and make not a penny more than you would expect to make if you were a professional. Just think about that. And that goes to the NFL and the way the NFL don't take care of their players. Roger Goodell has said nothing about former players that have stood high to make the sport turn into the biggest sport